Welcome.
Hello.
This is a very special episode of OBSCURAMA. OBSCURAMA is our video series in which myself, horror filmmaker LAWRIE BREWSTER, and this man discuss cult films, or in this case, films with the pretentious goal of becoming a cult film. To quote yourself.
I did not say that.
In relation to David Lowery's The Green Knight. So, welcome to OBSCURAMA. Cue titles and music. You may have seen many video essays and reviews of The Green Knight, but you will not see many as absurdly incompetent as ours. Mm-hmm. Ours is unique.
Yeah, you'll be doing most of the talking while I go, I agree.
Oh my God, but you're the only one that has notes.
Yeah, I do have notes actually. Yeah.
So, The Green Knight, for any of you who don't know, and for some reason are watching video essays before watching the film itself, is an adaptation of the famous Arthurian legend, Gawain and the Green Knight. You know, all of our favourite stories. Mm-hmm. The Green Knight is often associated with nature and Celtic mysticism. He will often feature on many New Age tarot decks and crystal healing shops.
I didn't know that.
It's true. So Gawain has it down to an art when it comes to trees, bushes, posters with dolphins, and other New Age paraphernalia. And is wonderfully brought to life in this kind of mystical form in David Lowery's The Green Knight. His role is one in tradition associated with being a teacher and wise man. Mm-hmm. You know, he is supposed to teach a deeper meaning to life, often in association with the natural environment and the ages past. And so in The Green Knight, our character acts as a kind of Godak, waiting for Godot, yeah, that's right, for our hero, who after encountering him at a banquet, in which he accepts a challenge to behead the Green Knight on the promise that the same favour may be revisited upon him 1 year later, which he does, in order to try and impress his father, King Arthur, in the hopes of becoming a knight.
His uncle.
Oh yeah, his uncle. Which is an easy mistake to make, because our hero's mother is...
sister to King Arthur, I think.
That's right.
I couldn't figure that out.
Not Morgana though, for Morgana's son is terrible. You know, if you haven't met him before, check out John Borman's Excalibur. This is a nice son, and his mother is another sister of Arthur's, I think, with the name of Morgause or Mergos, to try and pronounce it correctly. The film does nothing to try and help you understand the fine details of the plot or exposition for who these characters are precisely, and prefers to deal in atmosphere and metaphorical themes.
Yeah, I don't think they even mention Arthur by name, do they?
No. So that's basically it. You're going to see this young guy who wants to become a knight, undergo a quest in which he learns to become a man, learns humility, all these things in his attempts to try and find the Green Knight and avoid the fate that he begins to fear, which is that he will die at the Green Knight's hands. So that's our review for the Green Knight. Yeah, we hope you enjoyed it. And
I think we should probably start with Gawain or Gawain, because I think with allegorical tales like this, you need to have heightened characters. I think.
And he is very tall.
Yeah, he is very tall. But
He's 412 centimeters tall.
Yeah, I think they were busy trying to make him complicated when, you know, he's supposed to be chivalrous but also a coward, and I wasn't really sure what his defining feature was for the lessons.
Oh, yes, that's right.
You know, the lesson that he's supposed to learn, I would assume that you would either make him a complete dick, or you would make him so chivalrous that he has to learn a lesson about life in that way. I don't know. I just never got who he was or what he wanted.
We do see him in a brothel at the start of the film, where and he is played by actor Dev Patel, who might sound like the name of a corner shop owner character in Coronation Street, British TV soap opera, but is not. He is in fact the star of SLUMDOG Millionaire, which he was when at 19. And his character, as I mentioned, we meet first in a brothel where he seems to be in a kind of tryst with...
It's Alicia Vikander.
And she was the star of the AI film with the robots.
Ex Machina.
Thank you, Michael. Michael, our cameraman here, Ex Machina.
We've done our research.
Yeah, we've done our research. We've done a careful research.
Her character's name is Essel.
So, Essel. And unlike all the attractive women in the brothel, she is, whilst physically attractive, has rags to wear, like old, like strange clothes, and the haircut of a 12-year-old boy.
Okay.
Why does Gawain want to have sex with such a character?
I don't think that's relevant.
What do you think his motivation is?
I don't care. I'm not answering that question. I think we could just assume that he likes being with her because she's fun, and you know, she's kind of got that playfulness, sort of.
She looks like a character that carries a scroll in this medieval kingdom with her listed preferred pronouns.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
So there is a conscious decision in the appearance of these two characters, and it is interesting, I think, with her character, because we do see her again. The same actress plays with a very different appearance.
Yeah,
you know, where
totally different character. Yeah,
a totally different character, and one in which she doesn't look like a 12-year-old boy, but has a very feminized appearance. You know, she's got, like, you know, fabulous hair and a dress and everything like that.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why it's the same actor.
I think probably, or presumably, because her character is supposed to be metaphorically expressed by the two different incarnations we see of her. Okay. And when she is playing the 12-year-old boy in the brothel, you could imagine her job being the dirtiest. You know, she would have to clean all the other girls with an old mop and scramble about on her hands and feet. And that's why you really liked her character.
Yeah, that's why I did. You're setting me up for some interesting, awkward conversations here. Yeah.
So we see Dev Patel's Gawain and her going to the castle, you know, from the brothel. We get a sense that she kind of has his back. You know, she cares about him.
Yeah.
And he cares about her, but he's kind of a timid guy. He's the kind of guy that might, if push comes to shove, be too embarrassed to have her around.
Yeah.
You know, if he got a little bit fancier, if he gets to become a knight, which is his dream.
Yeah, I know. I mean, again, this falls back on me not being sure what he is in general. Is he timid? I never got the sense that he had a fully fleshed out. He had fully fleshed out characteristics or anything like that. He just seemed to float about the film, and I wasn't really sure. So there was nothing to latch on to that made the story compelling for me with him.
You wanted him to die, screaming in flames? Well,
no, I just wanted some characteristic to latch on to, much like, for example, The King with Timothée Chalamet. I think you got more of a sense of his indifference to being a king, and his, I think you got to know that you knew that he was changing throughout the whole film, whereas this felt like he was like floating around, experiencing things without actually...
You preferred some of the deeper scenes with Timothée Chalamet.
Again.
Like him emerging from the lake, washing himself by a river.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Him and his squires washing one another with oily rags in the stables.
Yeah.
All preferable to Dev Patel. Mm-hmm. And, I can agree with you. I mean, in many respects. You said there about how you didn't really seem to, and correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't feel that you got a sense of exactly who he was or what he was trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, people ask him throughout the film, what do you want? And he wants honor. I mean, do you, show me rather than have him say it. It just never felt like his character never did enough in each individual scene for me to see what he really wanted. He just said it through dialogue, sitting down quite a lot, which is just, oh, great, now I understand what he wants.
Do you feel, though, that there could be an argument that his arc is supposed to be him wanting honor, but not really pursuing it himself, but hoping external events or other characters can make things happen for him?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So he doesn't show an agency over himself that we would expect, but that might be the point, and that the agency he does show at the end, spoilers alert, being when he finally succumbs to his, apparent execution by the Green
that's
Knight.
A good point. Yeah, I do. I've changed my mind. That's a good point.
But that's not to say, though, that if that isn't as apparent as it should be or could be, that there might have been something more that we could have felt from the character to express those insecurities or cowardice or whatever that makes us aware of that lack of agency he has.
Yeah, it just needed more. It definitely needed to be more heightened.
I think the Green Knight attempts to do that mostly with scenes in which our Gawain character is indulgent or self-indulgent. When he's in the tavern getting drunk all the time, and you have one of the patrons saying he's here almost every night, but at least he comes to drink with us, and stuff like that. What about Gawain's uncle?
Yeah. King Arthur.
The King Arthur and the Queen. Queen Arthur.
Queen Arthur. I think it's Guinevere.
Guinevere.
Yeah. They were fine. Sean Harris, you can't go wrong with him.
I love Sean Harris.
Yeah. He's just a safe bet.
Powerful character actor. You saw him recently.
Yeah.
In
The King.
The King as well. Yeah, playing the.
He's in everything now.
Exactly, the advisor to Tim Shamley. Yeah. We also have Kate Dickie, Scottish actress, one of our greatest actresses, from our fair land,
Yeah.
playing Queen Guinevere.
They both seem to be, they deliberately, they were both ill, the characters, throughout the film, which was, I'm sure, there was some point to them being sickly.
Well,
I suppose they're on the way out.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Most of what we know, or folks would know from the King Arthur legend, is the Knights of the Holy Grail. You know, Arthur becomes ill when he loses his mojo, symbolically manifested in the Holy Grail, which must now be recovered to heal the king and the land, and during which he becomes more ill. I think he loses his mojo in the legend after his greatest knight, Sir Lancelot, has an affair with Guinevere.
Right, okay. I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, which makes the chronology interesting of Guinevere and Arthur back together. And there's no other knights from the Round Table, you know, as you know, there's lots of them, famous characters in their own right, such as Sir Lancelot. You know, none of them will play in this, or will feature. Neither will the villain, the classic villain, Morgana, Arthur's witch sister.
Yeah, overall, the king and queen, fine.
Do you feel that more could have been done with Kate Dickie, or do you think she did?
Yeah, I think they were almost like the same character. They just kind of were like the wise, you know, friendly, comforting kind of king and queen. I thought maybe there would be some sort of difference between them.
I feel a little bit that Kate Dickie gets hired because she looks like that and fits so perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, from Game of Thrones to that. And she's got such a wonderful physical presence and a look that's so distinctive that it does do most of the work. Yeah. You know, especially for filmmakers based very much on placing a lot of emphasis on the cinematography and how it looks and everything like that. But I would like to have seen her do more acting because she's great. And I feel that one scene in particular that I think showcased the waste of her potential was when she is at the start, near the start of the film, when the Green Knight first arrives to present the challenge to the knights.
And he speaks through her, isn't it?
That's right. He delivers a letter, right? A letter in the form of parchment with writing. Now, under ordinary circumstances, one might pick up the letter and read the contents aloud to everyone in the room. Yeah. Now, if you wish to make an accusation of style over substance, which the Green Knight does have plenty of to its detriment, this is an example. Kate Dickie, the Queen, picks up the letter. Suddenly she begins to glow green like the Green Knight. Her eyes become bright green, and then she starts speaking like a clairvoyant.
It's like when Galadriel goes mad.
Yeah, the contents of the letter, despite holding in her hand the letter with the writing. And you think, yeah, if the Green Knight has these supernatural powers, really? Like, he first spent those supernatural powers getting his biro and writing a 600-word letter. Yeah. Only to redundantly have her perform the contents of the letter. And when it's done with such over-the-top effect, for no real motivation that's counter to the logic, you know, why write the letter, why present it if it's just going to possess and make you speak in a funny voice with glowing eyes? You know, those on their own aren't so bad, but they begin to add up. I actually see that as, I see a moment like that as slightly juvenile and slightly insecure in how to deal with the material. Yeah. You know, a director with bigger brass balls or ballettes would have had that letter just get read. Yeah. Because Kate Dickie could do a great performance reading a letter without glowing eyes.
I think self-conscious is the word, because I think because there's so many good actors in it, and they just don't get utilized to their full potential in any scene. They're all kind of background They're almost like in the background.
Props.
Props.
Yeah,
Is the word.
they're dressed elegantly and they're made in their makeup very stylized.
Yeah.
Now, you could say that this is not inappropriate for this particular film in that it's trying to present this fairy tale story in a way that is quite stage-like.
Yeah.
And it does this quite literally in the film by intercutting often to a kind of Punch and Judy puppet show that we see on the stage that shows our Gawain character and the Green Knight having their encounters and leading to the final encounter.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you're blocking for a scene in the Green Knight would have, you know, 3 people standing at weird angles with the light hitting them in a strange way, with them, you know, speaking in a very meta, slightly break the fourth wall sort of way.
Yeah. If it was made in the 80s, it would be a completely different film. Obviously, I mean, that's such a, it probably sounds like a stupid comment, but like...
You know what? It's not a million miles removed, right, from a kind of take itself very seriously hipster take on a fairy tale comedy film.
Yeah.
Such as, the guy that was in Gavin and Stacey. Has the chat show.
James Corden.
James Corden, yeah. Like one of those little fantasy films with James Corden where he's winking at the audience.
Yeah.
And it's like, and everything's silly.
Yeah. These films are afraid to be humorous and silly.
There's a thread, you know, there's a thread to the kind of meta awareness. There's more Shrek in the Green Knight than the Green Knight would like to admit. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I suppose before going further into that though, we're talking about the king, Arthur, and but Joel Edgerton is in it as well. He plays one of a kind of nobleman character.
Yeah, his character is just called Lord.
So there are various people that our hero encounters on his quest. I think probably David Lowery has taken some inspiration from Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, you know, where this knight in his game with death, that begins right at the start of the film, set just after the Crusades, a knight wakes up from a slumber at the beach, sees death, and it's, you know, his time to die. And noticing death playing chess by himself, asks if he can play a game, and if he wins, he is spared from death, and death accepts the challenge, saying he has never been defeated. And during the course of that film, which is like a road movie, just like The Green Knight, our knight, played by Max von Sydow in The Seventh Seal, encounters various individuals, some of which almost become part of his little party, which in Green Knight isn't as much the case, though he does have a CGI fox companion that will eventually speak to him. Eventually in The Seventh Seal, he is forced to make that final confrontation with fate that he can't escape from, and he's been trying to, but he learns to accept it. And this is The Green Knight. And any hipster worth his salt will have studied the films of Ingmar Bergman and taken a heavy influence from them. And I feel that such an influence probably underpins the part of the structure, the narrative structure for this.
Yeah.
But unlike The Seventh Seal, The Green Knight very much places its emphasis on atmosphere, mood.
Yeah.
And you could say metaphor, but I don't think it expresses a deeply held philosophical idea that is truly profound.
Yeah.
And when I say that, even for those who are fans of The Green Knight, consider this. If the film is a metaphorical moral fable, one in which it's about a a weak person that becomes strong because they accept their fate and destiny, especially in relation to death, then should that not feel especially profound if it is so good? And if it doesn't feel especially profound, if it feels a little bit profound or nice, then I don't know, if you haven't already got in your hand a few films that have affected you in a deep and profound way, then it has to be compared to them in that way. And if it isn't especially profound, but it looked kind of cool, then we are kind of veering into style over substance.
Yeah.
The Giants.
The Giants.
What did you think of the Giants?
They looked pretty cool. I didn't really think much about them.
What do you think they were?
Giants?
So, there's a scene where Gawain takes mushrooms.
Does he? I must have missed that.
I think he takes, I think either he's hungry.
Oh, yes. Now I remember.
Yep.
In the cave.
That's right. Yep. And he takes a great pile of mushrooms, and walking over a hill, he encounters what can only be described as a legion naked lady giants.
Yeah.
They're about 300 feet high, and they're bald, and they and they don't. I'm not actually sure whether they do anything.
No, they do nothing.
Yeah, he calls out to one, hoping that he might get a ride on the shoulder, and then it reaches out to kind of crush him, and then the CGI fox companion barks to scare the giant away, and it kind of goes, okay, let's go. Then they all start singing a kind of.
It's kind of one of those things that's fine in the poem, like, because, you know, it's kind of one of those interludes.
Does it happen in the poem?
I don't know, but like, I mean, it's fine in those kind of poems where, oh, and he did this, but like, I didn't really understand why. I mean, if it was meant to add to the magic of the landscape, I'm fine with that. But like, I mean, it just.
I suspect he might have just made it up.
It might have been. I mean, there are giants in Arthurian legend, aren't there?
I don't know.
You're supposed to be the expert.
If there are giants in Gawain and the Green Knight, please let us know in the comments below. They looked cool. It looked a bit like the kind of anime TV series Attack on Titan. But at the end of the day, though, it just kind of looked cool but didn't mean anything.
Yeah. I basically did that when it happened. I was just like, why? Why is this happening?
There's a little bit of a bit of style over substance there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not to be too hard on style, though. Style is fine. It's just when you're a critic and you look at that style and you associate something that might be more superficial than it is as a great work of profundity, you know, then that is where you can have a good debate, and should, you know, because, you know, the world's superficial enough without us, you know, ascribing a movie with Instagram filters to being a work of intellectual genius.
Yeah, it was just like
when it might not.
Like an individual scenes, but not really a journey. It was just kind of like, oh, this is a cool idea, and let's put that in.
Yeah, well, it was funny. Before I watched it, I did joke that it would have chapters.
Yeah,
and
it did. It had chapters that are exactly. It felt exactly like something out of Hereditary or Midsummer.
I suspected as well that it would take some inspiration from Pier Pasolini's Canterbury Tales as well, which actually has quite a bit in common with this as well as The Seventh Seal, and is worth checking out, folks. You mentioned the other films, the other A24 films. It feels like, never going to sound like filmmakers and distributors, but you create a product that people like, you know, you're not going to try and sell them a whole new product. It's easier to sell them a variation of the product they last liked. And the way a film studio or producer might seek to achieve that It's by working with the same directors, the same writers, but they can also search out for directors who feel compatible with the brand.
Yeah. Yeah, they all feel the same. No, they don't seem to have individual identities anymore.
I feel like I will die of old age before I get to watch an A24 film that doesn't have a kind of broken plectrum for a soundtrack.
Yeah, boom, boom,
It's
boom.
trailers.
Or triangles.
Yeah.
The use of triangles is really annoying.
With this kind of horror Wes Anderson styled cinematography.
Yeah, like these jump cuts to kind of like tableaus.
Boom. Yeah. And that's all fine, but it's for those, let's say, that are into film and have a hipster bent, it's where they would go first. And A24, as a studio valued recently at $2 billion, understands that there is a large and substantial audience that are hipsters or aspiring hipsters or folks that like to feel intelligent. And if most of your audience is stupid, but you want them to feel intelligent because that's what they want, then you have to create art that encourages the perception of intelligence. That's why many people who are very stupid could like a film for stupid reasons, superficial reasons, based on how intelligent it makes them feel, and become so childish and defensive about those films on social media. But for a brand, that's good. And I'll give you a brilliant example of the technique, which if this upsets you, then at least you'll be able to move on. One thing that's often employed by filmmakers who are doing this, whether they want to or they've been briefed to do so, is to put in so-called hidden meanings in the backgrounds. So I'll give you an example. Take the film MIDSOMMAR. So MIDSOMMAR is a work of genius because if you look in the background of many shots, you could almost make out a face by joining the dots between all the dandelions, and it actually looks like the cult leader or or something like that. And you'll see BuzzFeed articles with all these screen grabs, you know. Here's the sad truth, folks. The game Join the Dots is something played by children. And they get to feel quite satisfied by producing a picture by drawing lines between the dots.
Yeah.
That's the game you're playing.
Yeah, you could make the story more interesting or the characters more interesting,
But here's the thing, you can't make the audience smart enough to enjoy an intelligent story, but you can make them feel intelligent by joining the dots for the pretty picture in the background.
Yeah.
Did you see this in the top corner of the frame? The old man at the top of the stairwell fixing the clock. Oh my God, it's so intelligent. There's so many things happening in the background.
Yeah.
You know, no, they think you're a moron.
An art director's probably going, another line here.
How can we make this film more intellectual? I don't know. Let's get the guys in Photoshop to put a face by drawing a pattern with these flowers that some nerd will put together and Reddit, and then everyone will feel like they're a genius after all because, you know, they can all play join the dots like a 5-year-old.
This video is going to get assaulted. We are screwed. You can't mess with MIDSOMMAR for some reason. It's just, there's so much devotion to that piece of crap. But anyway, sorry.
Wicker Man's good though. Yeah.
Wicker Man's amazing.
Yeah, Wicker Man's good. So, but back to the Green Knight. So, like, that might sound that we're really shitting on the Green Knight.
No.
We're not. There's lots to like.
Yeah.
And we also hate ourselves and our own work.
Yeah.
We're far harder critics on ourselves.
Believe me.
You know, Scotsmen and Irishmen, we are among the greatest self-deprecative peoples of the planet. So this is a positive review for the Green Knight.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Every criticism I've levelled at it, everything, is not a suggestion that they should not have been there.
No.
That they could have been done differently or more elegantly or more authentically.
Yeah.
But there are authentic components that do work in the Green Knight. And maybe we can talk a bit about what we like.
I mean, it was very well shot. for the most part. Yeah, it was pretty amazing, very well shot.
The cinematography is attractive. It's nice. There are, what we were critiquing as style over substance. Perhaps it shouldn't be seen as diminishing our respect for that style when it works. Some of it done quite simply and beautifully. So whilst I complain about the way they treated Kate Dickie reading a letter, something that works great and is very simple is that opening shot where the king bursts into flames in the head.
That's great. That's really great.
Full of atmosphere, and it feels like you are going to learn an old story.
They chose very good. They chose really beautiful landscapes as well.
And
Ireland.
The art direction and character design for the Green Knight, I thought was superb.
We haven't even talked about Ralph Ineson as the Green Knight.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're not supposed to see a lot of him. That's the whole point. But I genuinely would have loved a whole film with him because he's just absolutely amazing. And they did loads of tricks to make him seem more big, and that's all prosthetics as well, which I didn't really know as well. There's some CGI at the end, but they did a really, really great job with him, and he's so good, and his voice is just beautiful. Like, it's just so commanding.
Yeah, absolutely. There were folks complaining about the CGI fox. I didn't have any problem with the CGI fox.
Didn't have any problem.
I thought it was done quite natural. It looked natural enough, and it was an interesting and fun character, and to have in it with duplicitous motives, or perceived potential duplicitous motives. But I liked it. The fox, I thought it was cool.
Fox was great.
Our actress that played the ghost.
I'm thinking it's Erin Kellyman. She was Winifred.
That's right, Winifred.
Yeah,
I liked that scene.
That's a nice cottage in a really nice setting.
Yeah, it was kind of quite haunting, as quite literally.
Yeah.
But also quite beautiful as well. When our hero has to find the head.
Yeah.
That has been removed from this woman, her ghost.
That actually felt like a knight's quest.
It did, yeah.
Properly.
And that was good. We also have our young lad who has become quite prolific in British television and film because he perfectly captures the look of British child poverty from the 1930s.
He's Irish.
And he's Irish.
Yeah.
Oh no. But there you go. That's why he expresses
that's why I'm here,
childhood
folks.
poverty so well.
Yeah.
What's his name again?
I'm going to butcher his surname because I always got this wrong when I was growing up. I used to think it was Keoghan. It's Barry Keoghan or Cogan or you know who he is. We'll put his name up on the screen.
He was in Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk.
He was.
Playing a very British-looking boy.
He was also in The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
That's right.
Absolutely terrifying in it. He's really good. I'm not entirely sure I understood what was going on with... do you remember when he was tied up and the camera did that kind of sweeping shot and it came to his skeleton?
Yeah, that's an example of I think a self-indulgence.
I was like really annoyed with that.
So Tom refers to a moment where our hero is tied up and he feels helpless after being attacked by bandits. His body's been left bound by a tree and he's struggling. For what feels like 4 minutes, the camera slowly rotates 360 degrees twice. The first time it turns around, when they see him dead with literally is a skeleton. Quite a Halloween store looking skeleton, quite Walmartish, it's very stylized. And then it comes around again and then he's simply back to where he was. And you've sat there for those 4 minutes.
Yeah, that really took me out of the film.
Yeah,
Just, I don't know, I don't understand what was happening there. Maybe there was some sort of symbolism to it. I have no idea.
4 minutes, it might be 8 minutes. 8 minutes that you could have spent making love to a beautiful woman or a beautiful man.
Sure, why not?
Or Dev Patel,
I
rotating
suppose,
slowly.
Ooh.
I see.
Anyway, we should probably talk about the sequence that nearly sent me to sleep, which was when he visited the Lord and Lady in their castle, which was shot in Charleville Castle in my hometown.
You're right. The car really hit the brakes with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was almost half an hour, maybe 20 minutes to half an hour.
I will admit, even in preparation for this video, I struggled not to be tempted to fast forward a little bit. And of course you can't, you know.
Yeah.
And I had earlier that day watched for the second time, the 3-hour, 45-minute film Once Upon a Time in America, Sergio Leone's last. So to be struggling so much watching a 2-hour film for the first time.
I love slow plodding films, but you know, slow plodding.
I mean, I've seen your sex tapes.
Yeah.
I know.
Slow plodding visuals are fine with me, but when you add monologues into the mix, and you're not like, and it's not Shakespeare, you're not gonna you're gonna send me to sleep, and that's what happened several times.
I don't know if it hadn't been there, if you would have missed it.
No.
I guess you need it for the ejaculative purposes?
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I think it would be more effective, because there's quite a lot of sequences like that in The Lord of the Rings, where the heroes face these really intense challenges, and then suddenly they're brought to a really beautiful, relaxing place, and it kind of gives everybody a break. But there was no intensity beforehand to justify, you know, his place in this kind of limbo. You know? So it just felt like it was like slowing. It was slow to begin with, and then it just started slowing and slowing when it should be getting quicker and quicker. You know, it should be, you know, there should be some sort of, I don't know. It was just one of those things where, in a poem, it's fine. You know, in a big long story like that, it's absolutely fine to have that. But when you're making a film, you need to start escalating it in the third act.
I think if you're being slow and profound, you have to be 3 times as good. You can't just throw in more exploding heads. And so I think whenever the film felt like it wasn't being that profound, that's when you wouldn't have felt stimulated watching it. You know, like on a deep emotional and spiritual and intellectual level. It can be as slow as it wants. If it's triggering all those, then you won't be bored watching it. But if you're starting to slip away, that's because it's not making that connection to stimulate all those areas.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have more humor, more playfulness. You know, don't, like, they're, as you said, they're self-conscious. They're too afraid to, to open up.
The actress that plays Dev Patel, Gawain's mother, is hilarious and full of fun.
Yeah. No, not serious at all.
And she is played by...
is it his mother? Sarita Chowdhury?
Yes, that's right. So,
Sarita
Chowdhury.
Chowdhury.
Yeah. She is like a sorceress, a bit like Morgana, and we're not sure entirely. In any case, you know, she has a great look. She doesn't have a lot to do, though, except just... And I was joking about her being filled with fun. Really, what she does for the entirety of the film is look stern.
Yeah. She sort of launches the adventure, really, doesn't she? She sort of... it's almost like she summons the Green Knight.
Yes.
As a test.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Do you feel more could have been done with her, or...?
Yeah, probably. I mean, we said about any character, more could be done. Yeah, I think some more things could be done, just to give her, because a lot of her scenes were just intercut with very quickly. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, he spent quite a number of months cutting that scene, where the round table versus her doing her magic.
That's, you know, self-indulgent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Several months of people that make films and edit them.
Yeah. That's you could have gotten the Green Knight edited in about 24 hours. Just a couple of cups of coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It would be great. David Lowery is an editor. That's his background, I think. Then he got into directing.
Yeah, maybe.
He's the director of
A Ghost Story,
A Ghost Story, which is famous for its 10-minute real-time pie eating scene in which a character sits by a diner window and eats a pie.
Love it.
Whilst
I love it.
You actually enjoy that film?
I really enjoyed that film.
Now, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So, whilst I'm ridiculing the pie eating scene, what was your feelings about that scene? Because if you love that film, then presumably that scene and of course the film itself worked for you. And in that sense, what difference is there then between The Green Knight, which I get the impression you're more on the fence with than A Ghost Story? Well,
I mean, the pie eating scene is that long purposely because everything that goes after it is about how time gets speeds up as you get closer to death, and you know, time just appears to get faster and faster. So you have a really long scene with her eating a pie, and then everything starts going much quicker for the rest of the film. It's because, you know, time and the future is happening a lot quicker. So I'm not going to pretend that I really loved that scene, you know, but I understood why it was there. But it made sense when the next sequence of events happen.
I think, though, you saying that you maybe didn't love it, but you can see why it's there, is the important role art has to play in film.
Yeah.
You know, because not all aspects of film has to entertain.
Yeah.
You know, if it can achieve something artistically that can make the rest of the film elevated, you know, in what it's trying to say or do, you know, then it can't be afraid to not entertain for sections of the film if its purpose is high. And when it works, you would defend it as you have. And when it doesn't work, it's like what we were kind of criticising with aspects of The Green Knight, where it was like,
When I watched The Green Knight, because I didn't remember the director's name, so nothing about The Green Knight. Maybe I'll need to watch A Ghost Story again, because The Ghost Story actually is quite aesthetically different from The Green Knight. So nothing about me linked those two films, which is actually all right, which is quite an achievement. Because obviously A Ghost Story is in like 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's even more hipsterish.
Yeah,
but
and again, you know, people can easily conflate that with art, but it's not. It is just style. Remember, guys, your Instagram filters produce art.
Yeah,
do not.
Yeah, but you know, A Ghost Story had a very specific thing to say about death and about the passage of time, which I'm fascinated by, so it affected me.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. It's actually a tricky thing. If you are making art films, or you want to make art films, then distributors and studios, to package them and sell them to pretentious people that want to feel intelligent, you can't just give them the art film, because they won't like it, they won't understand it. Now, I'm a stupid person, I'm not putting myself in the ranks of geniuses here, but one thing I do know is that if something makes me feel smart without me having to do the lead work or the leg work, I'll probably enjoy it and think I'm smart without realizing I'm actually a doof. So, so say, for example, David Lowery, right, isn't just a hipster, right? Say he's not trying to be especially pretentious with his styles. He wouldn't get his films funded unless he did. You know, A24 has a brand it sells. There's no way it's going to have something like that is contrary to that brand. You know, why can't it look like this? It would do so much better with our consumers. Remember, that's what you are. If the color palette was like this, it's more homogenous with all the cool filters that we see on social media photography apps and whatnot. You know, the soundtrack's more like this. It sounds more, you know, and so just like normal filmmakers in mainstream entertainment, so-called art filmmakers also experience a severe loss of creative control. And whilst they might bullshit in their interviews that they have full control, like for example, Roger Eggers saying that he had Robert Eggers saying that he had filming delayed on The Witch so that the grass would grow in a manner that was authentic for the 17th century period. Can you imagine a bunch of suits delaying the crew for weeks? No, it's much easier just to make that shit up in an interview and then sell a few more movies to people on Tumblr.
Yeah, could be true.
It's totally true.
Will we wrap this up?
Yes. So, how many coconuts out of 47 pumpkins would you give The Green Knight?
I'd give it 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10?
Yeah.
Yeah. What happens when David Lowery sees that on Twitter? Or 6 out of 10.
He won't care.
He won't care. He shouldn't care.
He's on to his next movie.
Yeah, he should not give a fuck about this.
No, don't
this,
bother with
this
us.
video with like 200 views.
We're idiots.
He'll be just having a nice bath in champagne, you know, like You might have thought you knew the Green Knight, but did you see it 1 hour, 8 minutes in the background? The Green Knight can be seen in this formation of trees.
Yeah, there's something about that puppet show. There's a secret hidden message in that puppet show.
When the Green Knight is discerned from the way the trees form in the background in one of those shots, you're going to see a lot of people in horror Facebook groups declaring it a masterpiece and arguing precisely on that fact that they have screen grabbed it and shown it.
There's probably an ending explained video like every other film out there now in the last 10 years.
Honestly, I just think the studios have figured, you know what, the best way to make people feel smart is to let them all play that kid game of join the dots, you know, for background stuff.
This is him saying this, folks, not me, all right?
Oh my God, I'm a genius. Yeah. It's like, yeah. Easier to get Michael on Photoshop to put some shit together in 10 minutes to make you feel like a genius instead of writing an intelligent script.
Please direct your angry letters to LAWRIE BREWSTER.
I mean, this is a quote from Tom, but so folks, I would give like, oh my God, we were just joking about the ratings, but I guess we're kind of doing them now. The Green Knight, yeah, I think I would be the same. You would have to be an asshole to say the film was poor, in my opinion.
It's competent.
Yeah, and look, in the end of the day, the only way you can really rate a film like this, I think, is, if you're being sincere about it, is spiritually. Was it spiritually profound? You know, it was trying to be elevated. It was trying to have a beautiful and long resonating message. If that is the purpose of that kind of art. If it's just a showcase of attractive visuals and style, sure, it did great there, but that, you know what, like, we can do that on our iPhones with filters now. Do you know what I mean? It has to be better than that.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it did that in a way that would make me rank it highly among films that have touched me. I don't feel like my tear-stained face would turn to you at 3 in the morning one night and say, you know what, The Green Knight actually did really change my life.
Yeah. Or maybe we're just dead inside.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway.
So, thank you folks for watching. Please like, share, and blame Michael for any comments or statements that you found inflammatory or controversial during this episode of OBSCURAMA. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.